We have had a conversation that people need to hear about breast cancer, mastectomies, reconstruction, what to do with your boobs after. And we've said the word boob about 12,000
Yeah.
times, but people do need to hear these things.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we're talking about transparency. So be transparent because when you're real and not putting on a show or, putting on this face, you're helping someone else. You never know who this podcast is going to be able to help.
I'm Candace Ridardi. This is Gratitude Geek. Welcome to our third installment of our breast cancer awareness series. It's October, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we are talking to breast cancer thrivers and people who help folks with breast cancer. So our guest today is Deb Davis. She is a recent breast cancer thriver. She was a guest in episode 287, so that was just 6 weeks ago. And we have to finish that conversation because we only got off the ground. Deb is the author of Faces of Transparency, What We Reveal. And welcome to the show, Deb.
Thank you so much, Candace. I am so happy to be here with you.
In the last episode, when you were here with Nicole and Di, and we were talking about self-care strategies for solopreneurs, you mentioned that you had 3 simple self-care practices. And then we never got to them in the
We
conversation.
never
So what are your 3 simple self-care
we
practices?
never got to them. First of all, my biggest one is no is a complete sentence. And I had to learn that the hard way. And I'm such a component for pleasing people or what we would call a people pleaser. Recently, over the year or so, I've learned that you are the most important person because if you don't take care of you, you can no longer take care of anybody else. So I've learned to not say yes to everything. And I've learned to process any decision that I make, to see how it's going to not only benefit me, but benefit the people that's involved. And if that doesn't end to a good end up being a good result, so I just graciously say no or not at this time. So that's number one. Listening to your body. Your body is the best teacher. Your body tells you things that nobody else can tell you about you because it's you, it's your body. So I've learned to slow down, listen at those signs, and not push beyond them. Okay. And enjoying life, enjoying your family, taking time to pause from work and just saying, even if you have to put that time, because we talked about penciling in those times on our calendars, just taking that time for you and the things that you love to do, whether it's family, whether it's going to a movie, whether it's, putting on a comedy show and just laughing. And I've learned that to laugh is like, that's really true. When they say laughter is medicine,
Oh
it
gosh,
really do
it
make you
is.
feel good.
Mhm.
So just,
I don't know about you, but whenever anybody DMs me and says, "Hey, my sister was just diagnosed with cancer," or "I was just diagnosed with cancer. What's your advice?" I always say, "Watch funny movies."
yeah, yep,
Just
it
laugh.
works. Just
And
laugh.
I know that when I laugh a lot, it helps me cough, and coughing is good because I have breast cancer in my lungs. So coughing is good because it opens up those airways. Yeah, laughter is fantastic.
Yeah,
So let's chat. We didn't get a chance to chat about your book because we were really focused on self-care in our last conversation.
right, right.
So tell me about your book.
My book, well, first of all, I do want to say I love your hair. Your hair is so beautiful.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
by it being breast cancer month coming up, you
This
know,
is actually, I've had this for a long time. You've seen me in this before.
I've seen you, but for some reason, maybe it's just the whole little thing
Mm,
that's going on today. But
thank you.
anyway, my book is called The Faces of Transparency, and it's What We Reveal is the subtitle. I have been writing this book for 30 years. When I tell people that, it's like, no, I thought it just came all out the blue. No, it didn't just come all out the blue. It came full circle during my healing process. And the reason I say that is, when you're going through breast cancer, you come through surgery and you're healing, you have nothing but time. And your mind is able to rest, and God is able to really, download some things to you. And that's really what happened. As I was recovering, the Lord had shared with me, I was the president of one of the women's group at my church, and always shared my testimony, always had different lessons, encouraging lessons and different things like that. One particular night, the Lord said, "You really wasn't as transparent as you could have been to help the women." And that look you got on your face right there, that's the kind of look that I had. I'm like, I thought I was. And he was revealing some things that, I was sharing some things, but I wasn't sharing everything. I wasn't sharing the parts that I needed to share. And I was like, wow, it really kind of made me feel bad because I was like, I thought I was being authentic. Not that I was lying, I just wasn't sharing maybe the necessary parts that I needed to share. And that's when he brought back to my mind that it's time for you to finish your book. And that's where the name came from, because there's a lot of times that we can be one person with our family, with our friends, and we can be a total different person in public. And so the faces of transparency came from the point where I used to wear a mask. And that's all in my book. I'm not going to tell everybody what's all in the book, but you can read about what the mask was. So my book is a book of hope. It's a book of transformation. It's a book of breaking the silence, and just being free to be who you are, to be transparent, because there's so many times we put on these faces because as women, we feel like we're super women, and we feel like we got to wear all these different hats, and we feel like we got to be this for this person and that for that person. And we never really deal with ourselves and the issues or the things that we may need for ourselves. We push all of our needs and all of the things that we may be going through, um, to the back burner. And then sometimes those things come crashing down. So I will say this, that I had lived in an abusive relationship. I was isolated. I had to escape that relationship for my life, but it took me 7 years to do it. Some people say, how would you live in an abusive relationship for 7 years? Nobody knows until they're in it. And he threatened my entire family, including my son, and I just felt like I needed to do what I needed to do until I was able to escape. So writing my book, Candace, has really transformed who I am. I no longer hide the things that I'm going through. Now, being transparent don't mean you tell every single detail. I did find that out. You don't have to tell every single detail, but you do need to be transparent enough to be able to help somebody else. And
Mhm.
that's what the Lord shared with me, that until I was completely transparent and fully real with who I am to myself, not necessarily people, but to myself, that I was not going to be completely delivered.
Can I push back on something you said? You
Mhm.
okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
So you said that we are not superwomen, and I disagree. I think we are all superwomen, and we all have a unique set of superpowers. Most of us don't realize how amazing we actually are
Mhm.
until we can identify what our superpowers are. And your superpower is transparency. You didn't
Mhm.
find it until recently.
Yeah. Now, exactly. Now, what I mean by us being super women is I have 6 grandchildren. And I try to do what I can as a grandparent. I did what I had to do as a mother, and I carry the weight of the world on my shoulder because I was a single parent for maybe 8, 9 years of my son life until I remarried. But I did everything because the first husband that I had did nothing. So I had to be the breadwinner. I had to take care of home. I had to do this, this, and that. That's what I mean by trying to be superwoman because sometimes your situation dictates that you have to be. No, I know I'm fabulous. I know I have superpowers. That's not the part that I'm talking about when I'm saying trying to be superwoman. You're trying to be all things to all people.
Yeah. What yeah. Which no, you should never be all things to all
Mhm.
people.
Exactly.
You come first, then your
Yes.
family.
Mhm.
You know, I hate to talk about negative things in the world, but there we have an epidemic in this country of men that don't hold up to their end of the bargain. And it's really sad. Like I have a really good friend whose ex-husband, when they were married, sh they had a child together, but she had a child from another man. So she had an older son and then her younger daughter, which was her husband's daughter. And her husband treated her son as his own. And to this
Mhm.
very day, even though they are no longer married, he still treats her son as if he were his own.
Mhm.
That is such a rare thing in this world,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? But that is to me what being a man is supposed to be,
Yeah.
right? And there are just so many men who do not uphold their end of the bargain, their obligation, you know?
Agree.
Um, and but that shouldn't be a rare thing.
Yeah.
It should be what happens all the time. You know, to this day, he still buys the kids school clothes.
Yeah.
You know,
That
it's not his son. He doesn't have to.
yeah.
He's not obligated, but he does.
Yeah.
You know that, and that's just to me that right there is the perfect ex-husband, and they're good friends to this day. They just weren't good marriage. They weren't good marriage partners, right? But they're good
Mhm.
friends.
Yeah.
And I wish there was more of that in the world,
Exactly. Yeah.
and less of your ex-husband.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, and okay, so let's talk about the 7 years that it took you to leave,
Mhm.
because that is not an uncommon situation. That's actually a very common situation, and a lot of it has to do with society. We live in a society, the United States, that makes it very
Mhm.
difficult for women to leave their husbands.
Right.
Do you wanna be transparent about that?
I definitely can be transparent about that. Now I do need to back up. Now, the abusive relationship was not a marriage. That was a boyfriend.
Okay.
Okay. And
Same
then I married.
difference, though.
Yeah, yeah. So,
7 years
uh,
in most states, 7 years is, legal common law
common
marriage.
law,
Yeah,
common law.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was in my 20s, maybe 23, 24, something like that. Um, Actually, the way the relationship started, I should have known that it was going to be very, very dangerous. I was in my 20s, and that's why I try so hard now to help young women because a lot of those blind spots and things that we don't see until hindsight, right? But yeah, I was in my 20s, so in a relationship with a guy that had actually just injured someone, I'll put it like that. And I went on a run with him. Okay. I had a young son, went on a run with him, and that's how the relationship started, you know. And as time went on, he isolated me. Um, my mom, I believe, knew in the beginning or kind of knew because she would come and get my son and kept my son, most of the time. So, but as time went on, he isolated me from family, from friends, and that's when the abuse started. Um, and when I tell you, um, and I'm being transparent, he would beat me for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that is the life that I lived. And I hid it. I hid it because of the threats that he would make, towards not only my son, but my family and me. And I lived like that for a long time. And even with the abuse, there was times I couldn't leave home, and I had a job. There was times that I had to miss work because he was so um insecure. He was such a jealous person that he didn't want me to even go to work. He wouldn't work, but he didn't want me to go to work, you know. And but I'm a fast forward and get to the breaking point. And this was one particular night, and he always would do this when my son wasn't at home. So he never would jump on me or beat me up or anything like that until my son wasn't at home, wasn't home. So this one particular night, he would drink a lot, and it always would happen while he was drinking. But he beat me so bad that I passed out. And obviously, after I passed out, he was so drunk he went to sleep. And I remember waking up on the floor, because he had beat my head on the floor so hard that that's how I passed out. But I remember waking up and I remember looking around knowing that I was alive because I didn't know what happened. Um, I was able to escape with the clothes on my back, no shoes. I was near the door, so I was able to get out of the door before he woke up. And I remember this was back when we had alleys. I ran down the alley, and my mom didn't live that far from me at the time, maybe a few blocks. I remember running down the alley, to get to my mom's house. And I was able to get to my mom's house, and that, and it's so funny. That wasn't the first time that I tried to escape. I tried to before and I went back. But this was the time that I was able to get away and I stayed away. But for years after that, I was terrified to run into him on the street because of all the threats and stuff that he had made. I remember being on a city bus and something happened. Either somebody had popped firecrackers, or I don't know if it was a gunshot or whatever, but I'm just showing how terrified I was to just be out. But I remember it was my mom, myself, and I think it was my sister and my son on the bus. We were probably catching a bus to a movie or something. And when this happened, I had so much terror that I fell to the floor of the bus because I thought somebody was shooting at me. And I lived like that for so long, Candace, just afraid. And I can't even tell you when that fear really went away, but it eventually went away. And years later, I remember my sister telling me that he had passed away. Now, I had forgiven him for what he had did because I had to live and to move on. But I remember her telling me that he had passed away, and I had no feeling. I
Mm.
had no feeling behind it. I mean, it wasn't that I was happy, sad, glad, any of that. It's just nothing was there. And yeah,
That's actually a good thing. It means that he no longer owned any of you.
uh-uh,
He had no control of you at all, not even
no,
your emotions.
no,
So today you are a successful business owner. You're happily married. You have grandchildren.
yes.
Talk about that transition.
Well, there was some more stuff in between that. This is my second husband, and I will be married almost, well, actually October 1st, it'll be 24
So
years.
you just celebrated your 24th wedding anniversary.
Yeah,
Girl, I've
October
been married longer
1st.
than you. I have been married longer than you.
Yeah. So coming up, it'll be 24 years on October 1st. Prior to that, my first marriage, I was married 7 years. That was not a good situation. After those 7 years, I had stayed single for 10 years, and then 10 years after that, I met my husband, and um,
Y'all
we've
do
been
the
married
math.
24 years.
Do the math. This woman looks
Yeah.
fantastic for her age. Do the math.
Do the math.
Because you look like you're younger than me.
Yeah. Yes. And it's so I always tell people this is like my national holiday because it's my birthday and all of this happens on October 1st. So it's my birthday, my son's birthday. My son will be 45, I believe. My husband's birthday,
On October
my
1st.
all on October 1st.
Oh,
My grandson's birthday, and then our wedding anniversary is all on October 1st.
that
And
just takes care of all that celebration. You can do it all in one day.
all of it at one time. So people often ask me, "How did you do that?" I'm like, I didn't do anything but one thing, and that was my wedding. So I couldn't plan the rest of it.
And a lot of times the date of your wedding doesn't have anything to do with the day you want to get married, but the day that's available on the calendar.
Yeah.
I had to get married on the day that my niece and nephew were on spring break.
Okay.
I had to my niece and my nephew had to be on spring break, so I had to either that or summer vacation, and I didn't want to wait that long, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I lived in Texas and I did not want to have a summer wedding in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I could
no.
imagine. Yes.
So, okay, did you self-publish your book?
I did have a publisher.
You did.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
what was that
Mhm.
process like? How did you help the audience go through this process of publishing a
Okay.
book?
Yeah. So, well, back to when I started my book, like I said, it took me 30 years to write it. So, when I did get released to go ahead and write it, oh, I did want to say this one part because I do want to tell people that never let people stump your dreams.
Jelly bean on your
I
dream. Mhm.
Yeah, I always wanted to write a book, but I remember back in college, I mean, I would start, I would stop, I would start, I would stop. But I remember having an instructor, English instructor actually, in community college, told me that you can't write the way you talk. Because I always write the way I talk, right? The whatever. Run-on sentences and all of that. And I remember her telling me that, and she was so serious. And I was like, hmm. So it kind of stumped me because I went back to school when I was my 30s. But yeah, so it kind of stumped me. And I was like, hmm. So I carried that and I said, well, maybe I can't write a book. Maybe this writing books is for doctors or lawyers and all of these people. And I just gave up, right? So anyway, that was that story. And when I did get released to write my book, I was like, wow, I had always journal. I had all these books and all these journals and everything. So I started pulling all of my stuff together. And by the time I got to start on my manuscript, I was already at chapter 5. So when I picked up on chapter 6, from chapter 6 on is my breast cancer journey. And so I would just, I just wrote and obviously I used the computer typing but I like to handwrite. So I would write a lot. And then when I got it all together, I remember talking to because I met this young lady through an event that I was working. And so I was telling her what I wanted to do. I said, I want to write a book. And she said, oh, okay. How soon do you want to publish it? And I think it was like 6 months or so. And she said, oh, it's possible, but you got a lot of work to do. So I just put my head down, start writing and writing, and I would send her different drafts. And she did everything from start to finish. She edited. She got all of everything on Amazon, my ebook. She did all of the formatting. In the process, make sure you get a good photographer to take you a good photo if your photo is going to be on the book cover or the back cover. I do suggest you do have a headshot for your back cover. But I just started formatting everything, sending it to her. She put everything together. I wanted to release my book on June 14th, which was 1 year to the date of my breast cancer surgery. So that date was significant for me. And yeah,
And you did
just
it.
yeah.
Wow. That says something about your perseverance too, and setting big, hairy, audacious, yet reachable goals.
Yeah. I never would have thought, Candace, when I got the book in my hand, the first copy, I was like, wow, this is really happening. And what's so funny, and authors probably, I'm sure, can attest to this. I started writing my second book before my first book was even published. So, yeah, stay tuned.
So speaking of writing, you have created yourself a presence on Substack. Oh, we haven't given the disclosure that you are a client. You're part of the Robusta group. We should
Yes,
probably give that
I love it.
disclosure. You know? But it took me forever to get the feel of how Substack can be helpful. And I'm not, I have a self-hosted website, CandiceRodarty.com.
Hmm.
My podcast and all of that feeds through CandiceRodarty.com, but I have this other podcast, Sci-Fi Book Pod. And Substack is a platform for writers and people who read writing, right? It's a writers and readers platform. There are other folks on the platform that probably don't belong there,
Yeah,
troublemakers and things like that. But for the most part, it's readers and writers, right?
exactly.
And so I was like, okay, Deb is doing really well. I know several other people who are doing really well on Substack. I'm
Hmm.
gonna try. So I've moved Sci-Fi Book Pod to Substack, and I'm just getting my feet wet. I've got 9 or 8 episodes of the podcast up there, which is
Hmm.
just the newsletter portion of the podcast. Everything
Yeah.
else is hosted elsewhere. I'm just learning it. I'm still not sure I'm doing it right. I have 1 subscriber,
Hmm.
it's just, but I'm getting my feet wet. But I do know that publishers will often tell authors that before they publish their book, they should have a bigger Substack presence.
Yes.
So talk about being an author on Substack. That was a roundabout way of asking to talk about how an author
um,
should use Substack.
yeah, I stumbled up on Substack and I was looking for a platform or a space where I could um, do whether it's devotions or carryovers from different chapters or introduce people to my book. So right before my book launch, I would say maybe a month or so before my book launch, I think I heard about Substack from a podcaster or somebody I was listening to. He was talking about being on Substack because he's an author as well. And I said, well, let me check this Substack out. So I got on there. I remember just writing a piece about my book was coming out, kind of whetting, different people' appetite. And then I would just copy the link and send to family and friends and just ask them to subscribe, and they started subscribing, and I didn't know about the paid part at first, so I had 3 people that subscribed to pay, and I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know if I really wanted to do the paid portion just yet," right? So, I actually turned that feature off, and I refunded I refunded them their money because I wasn't really quite ready for that. I wanted to just have that space for my articles and stuff like that. So I truly love Substack, and I it's just a space, like you say, for authors and a lot of readers, and there's a lot of author groups that you can get in, and they encourage you
Wait,
to
there's groups?
yeah, there's different groups
Okay.
that you can follow and see what different people are talking about and stuff like that. But I think that it's a great space and a companion space for my book, and just so that I can write longer because I tend to write a lot, and when I'm posting things on Facebook, everybody's not going to read all that stuff.
Mm-mm,
people
no.
are people are not going to read all that stuff. So I needed that space where I can be. And I do a little bit on LinkedIn, but I try to keep my LinkedIn more business oriented and not put like all my personal or book stuff on there. So that's
Yeah.
That's how it's good for Substack. For me, I don't know how many subscribers I have because I
You have
don't think I
44
pay attention.
subscribers. You have
I don't think
44.
I pay attention to.
I actually just followed you because I wasn't I again, I just, like, last week brought over my content from a different
Mhm.
platform to Substack. I copy and pasted and tweaked a little.
Think you
And
should hang in this
yeah,
time, Candace.
it's
Yeah.
a different I the the writing, the writing
Mhm.
interface, I it took me a minute to figure out how to use it. 'Cause
Oh,
it wasn't
okay.
intuitive. I was looking for a little plus well, it doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Okay.
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
But what I do love is and I'm with you. I don't
Mhm.
think I ever wanna turn on monetization because I'm $8 to death already, and I don't wanna do that to anybody else.
Yeah,
There's
and I
other ways
think
to make money.
you have to have another level of commitment too.
Yeah,
So there's times that I do try to post at least once a week, but I don't make it every single week, you know.
yeah.
So I don't want to have that level of commitment right now. So that's why I turn my
I do need to crowdfund a new microphone, though. I have not figured out how to put that together, but I do need a new microphone. This one is 10 years old. The headset and microphone combination no longer serve me well enough, and I need to replace them, and I have to figure out how to politely ask for $500 so, so that I can replace my audio because I'm not
Yeah.
spending any more money on something that doesn't earn me any money. You know,
Yeah.
I don't make
Yeah.
money from the podcast. What I do
Mhm.
is I make amazing connections, right? I
Yeah.
have met and spoken to some amazing people, and that's priceless, worth way more than any income I could receive from it. But I can't justify spending $500
Yeah.
for something that doesn't bring in revenue.
Yes, I
So
get
that's
it.
why I'm gonna crowdfund the new microphone. Just haven't figured out how to do that. But
Just do it.
I don't wanna turn on paid subscriptions on Substack for the other podcast, which is Sci-Fi Book Pod, not this one. This podcast,
Mhm.
gratitudegeek.com, is not on Substack. Yeah, yeah, there's because to me, monetizing the podcast has never been the reason I do it. I've never wanted to make money from this show. I wanted to do what I just said. I wanted to meet really interesting people and have
Yeah.
fascinating conversations. And I
Yeah.
think I've done that very well.
I think you do that really well.
You are episode 294.
I know.
I think I've nailed that.
Yes, I think you have.
So, if you are listening to this podcast and I have figured out how to ask for crowdfunding to pay for a new microphone, the link's in the
Mhm.
show notes.
Yes. There you
uh,
go.
I have a few weeks to figure it out. Okay.
We have not because we asked not.
That's right, and that is something I learned
Yes.
when I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, was, people kept asking what we can do, what we can do, and my husband said, "Candace, I don't have time to go grocery shopping." And so, a friend of mine went grocery shopping for us
Yeah.
because he couldn't go grocery shopping and take care of me and work, right?
Yes.
He was like, "I just don't have time to go grocery shopping." And so, my friend Kim twice filled our refrigerator twice for us,
Mhm.
which was just enough time for me to feel better, right?
Better.
To get to the
Cle
point where I could go grocery shopping, right?
Right, right, right.
Which I could. I mean, there was 6 to 8 weeks that I couldn't even get out of bed. I mean, the
Yeah.
chemo was so hard. But that I didn't. I would never have thought to ask for someone to go grocery shopping for us.
There's hints that superwoman syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't
No.
know if I like the term superwoman, though,
Maybe I'm not using this maybe I'm not using the right word, but
but I know what you mean.
you know what I mean? The gotta do it all. I don't
Yeah.
know. But you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
not the right term because we are superwomen.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
There's gotta be you know what, audience?
Different
In the
word.
no in the comments,
Yeah,
leave your
because
thoughts on superwoman syndrome, what your
yeah,
thoughts are, because maybe I'm
yeah.
the one who's wrong.
Well, when I say it, the more I say it, like superwomen, we are superwomen. We're fabulous.
But superwoman syndrome actually sounds good.
Maybe it is just a syndrome. So, Yeah, y'all let
Yeah,
us know.
yeah. Audience, participate. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Superwoman syndrome?
Yeah.
Is there a better term for that? So, what else would you like to chat about? This is your hour. This is your hour. Breast cancer is the theme, but this is your hour.
Yeah. You know what, Candace? I am so fascinated by your tenacity and your never give up spirit. And you're actually, yeah, we all had breast cancer, but you're living with breast cancer. And there is a difference. And I think that, I'm getting prepared and ready to go to the breast cancer walk on October 11th. And we're survivors, we're thrivers. But I don't think the people that are living with breast cancer get highlighted enough. What would you say to someone out there that is actually living with breast cancer, um, and the feeling of being lumped in with everyone else? Because what I've went through, yeah, I don't minimize it, but you're living with it on an everyday basis.
I have become so used to it. It's just part of my routine. Every 3 weeks, I go to therapy. I receive this protein inhibitor. It's a monoclonal protein inhibitor that's been around for well over 30 years. It's been around so long, it's no longer under patent. So there are plenty of generics for it. And this monoclonal protein inhibitor has been keeping me alive for 11 years. And it's kept, I mean, I do have, well, actually, on my last CT scan, only one of the nodules showed up. So I had a
Mm.
nodule, 2 millimeters in each breast. But you know what?
Mhm.
A 2 millimeter nodule in your lungs could give you a coughing fit. I mean, it is a significant. Um, but and that's the only place the breast cancer is showing up in my body is my lungs. Like it's not anywhere else. My tumor markers, I just had my blood done. It's tumor marker 7, which is an excellent number. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm in fantastic shape. I feel good most of the time. I have some side effects like neuropathy and things like that. And I had chronic inflammation, but Super Patch fixed that. There'll be a link to that in the
Yeah.
show notes. and and I just it's just part of my life. But
Mhm.
sometimes I meet people and they go, "Well, how long will you be in treatment?" And I'll say, "For the rest of my life." And they'll be like, "I've never heard of that." It's like, "Well,
Mhm.
I'm a lifer. There's no cure for what I have. There's only treatment. Treatment just happens to be damn good and it's working,
Yeah.
right? And it's a proven this monoclonal. I keep saying monoclonal because I know that there are a lot of folks out there who think that monoclonal treatment is this new technology. No, it
Mm.
has been around for a very long time and it works. There are
Mhm.
hundreds of thousands of women who have HER2 positive breast
Yeah.
cancer that are alive today because of Herceptin and the generics that now exist, right? Um, and so sometimes I'm a little frustrated because people don't get it. And then
Yeah.
I see, oh my God. And then I see my friends that are also living with metastatic breast cancer and they aren't as lucky as I am. And
Mm.
I've watched friends with metastatic breast cancer pass away. I've watched friends pass away in less than 2 years from initial diagnosis. And,
Mhm.
I don't know if this has happened to you yet, but once you are diagnosed with breast cancer, you join a family,
Yeah, you do.
and you suddenly find yourself surrounded by other women with breast cancer or who've
Mhm.
survived breast cancer or,
Exactly.
are breast cancer have been touched by breast cancer in some way.
Yeah.
And so, and a lot of it had to do in those early years. I did a lot of volunteering, right? I volunteered for the
Mhm.
American Cancer Society, and I volunteered here locally for the YMCA's breast cancer program or cancer program, and which is called Live Strong. The program is called Live Strong at the Y, and it's specifically designed to help cancer patients come back after cancer treatment.
Okay.
So I volunteered, did some fundraising for them. So when you do stuff like that, you surround yourself with other people who have been touched by
Right.
breast cancer in some way.
Mhm.
But there's this survivor's guilt. You know, one of my one of my very first mastermind clients passed away from breast cancer in 2 years. She was diagnosed and passed away in a 2 year period. I had known her for a very long time. Here I am, more than a decade later,
Mhm.
still surviving and thriving and, you know, going to chemo every 3 weeks, and she didn't make it in 2
Yeah.
years. And that
Yeah.
it hurts.
Yeah.
You know,
It
you
does.
really feel it. You really, really
It
feel
does.
it.
You just said something that I just was dealing with maybe a month or so ago, the survivor's guilt.
Mhm.
A good friend of mine, um, had breast cancer years ago. She's been gone. I don't even know how long she's been gone, but I can't count it up right now. But she had breast cancer. She was thriving, doing well, a nurse, all of that, and went through breast cancer, and in 2 years she was gone. And I remember when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, immediately, she came to mind. And, I couldn't hold on to the fact that, she was gone because I needed to deal with what I was going through at the particular time. And a lot of times as soon as you get diagnosed with breast cancer, your whole mind just transforms when you come back to yourself, you know. And I knew that when I was diagnosed that how I was going to go through it was going to be how I was going to come out of it. So I needed to surround myself with nothing but positive people because if I didn't, I don't think that I would still be here. So I needed to surround myself with a small group of people, which was all family, maybe one friend, um, because I didn't want to hear all the noise. I didn't want to hear this is what you should do, or I know someone that did this, or I don't recommend you doing that. I didn't want to hear that. So I have an ebook coming out about how to care for and be there for someone that's going through breast cancer, the do's and the don'ts. And some of the don'ts is never say, I had a friend that did this and don't do this. Never advise someone that's going through breast cancer how to go through it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
The number of people who send me, "Have you looked into taking horse dewormer?"
Yeah. Yeah.
I just I don't even have words for it.
Mhm.
The ignorance, you know? First of all, how dare you?
Yeah.
Or
And
coffee enemas.
honestly, I don't think they really understand.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like if someone passed away, you sometimes don't even know what to say. Sometimes silence is better.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah. Many, many years ago, while I was going through treatment, I had a good friend who passed away from a heart attack. She was way too young. Um, but her mother had passed away just a few weeks earlier. And it's kinda like the same thing that happened after Carrie Fisher died, and then Carrie Fisher's mother passed away within a few weeks. People kept saying it's broken heart syndrome. I mean, it was all over Facebook. Everybody was talking about how she had died from broken heart syndrome.
Yeah.
That didn't help anybody,
Yeah.
you know? That
That's
didn't
it.
help any and conjecture over how she died didn't help anybody,
Mhm. Exactly.
you know? She remember what a huge impact she had. Her name was Rashima Holmes. I went to her funeral. There were hundreds of people there from all walks of life, all shapes and sizes and colors. It was a very uplifting funeral. So many people said such positive things about her. She touched hundreds of lives.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how she died,
It didn't matter. Exactly.
you know, and
Yeah.
that's, you know, one of the reasons why I don't
Mhm.
want to have a funeral. I've told my husband this. I do not want a funeral.
Mhm.
I've told my family this. I do not want a funeral. Just because I want you to remember, go to a coffee shop and have a drink with
Yeah.
someone and tell a happy story about me, but I don't want to have a funeral. You know, I don't want to put my family through that. And I just
Yeah.
anyway, but that's a long time into the future. A long time into the
Exactly. A
future.
long time.
Yeah. But yeah, unsolicited, I remember I wrote this blog post and my original blog where I um wrote about my breast cancer story from the very beginning. All of that has gone, but there is some of it still on the Wayback Machine. I just don't know if this
Mhm.
article is because I haven't looked for it yet, but I did write an article once called "How to Give Nutrition Advice to People Who Have Breast Cancer."
Yeah.
And the first line is, "This is how you give nutrition advice to someone who has breast cancer. You don't."
Yeah. I like that. You don't.
You know, because none of your business.
Just
It's
don't.
none of
Yeah.
your business how that person chooses to be treated. You know, if
Mhm.
somebody wants to go all natural and do coffee enemas, I
Yeah.
can judge all I want from over here, but it's not up to me to say, "Ha ha, you're an idiot," right?
Mhm. Yes.
Even though that's how I truly feel. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But, you know, the
Yeah.
people would be sending me these at the very beginning, they'd be sending me these links to these retreat centers for people with
Mhm.
cancer. And I finally just said, "Do you know how much these cost?
Yeah.
I can't afford this. And it's really rude of you to send me this." You
I
know?
get it. I get it. I get it. I got it all. I know.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's a rant. That was my rant,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
I got strong feelings about some of this stuff. You know, on the one hand, I've got this drug that I've been taking every 3 weeks for the last almost 12 years now that is working, so
Yeah.
why mess with
Yeah.
it?
Exactly. And so that's kind of what I wanted to people to hear because a lot of times we forget about the ones that's actually living
Yeah.
with it,
Thank you. Thank you for
So,
identifying that 'cause
mhm.
again, I always forget too, you know?
And like you said, you've been living with it for so long that, I just think that it should be more highlighted. And I'm sure that there is spaces and places where
Yeah.
it is. But yeah, and you're right. You do develop a whole different community and a sisterhood when you've been through what we've been
And
through.
it's really interesting too, the women that will come up and say, "I had breast cancer 10 years ago," and
Yeah,
never would have known.
never would have
Never
known.
would have
Right.
known. So a couple weeks ago, I talked to Erica Newbert Campbell, and she was sharing her breast cancer story. And someone at work actually came up to her and said, I had a mastectomy, a double mastectomy. Would you like to see my breasts?" And showed them to her. You know, they went into the bathroom and she showed her breasts so that she could see what was coming for her. I wish that somebody had shown me their, because I didn't, I opted, I found out that I had metastatic cancer so soon after I finished the first round of treatment that
Uh-huh.
I just wasn't even thinking about, breast correction. But man, if somebody had told me that my boobs were going to look the way they do today, I would
Hmm.
have had both of them removed.
Yeah.
But nobody told me, right?
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
tells you what it's going to look like. Or
Nobody.
what
Yeah.
you're going through, yeah. But
Yeah.
if I had had the option to have them both removed, I would have done it then,
Mhm.
right? Because I don't care. I mean, my husband might care a little bit, but I don't care about my boobs, right? But when I'm
You
trying to find clothes that fit, I can't.
yeah,
Didn't you have a double mastectomy?
I did. I had a double mastectomy, and again, nobody really tells you, but I went in and, I had I had breast cancer in both breasts. So,
Which was
I
very
didn't
rare.
yeah, it is rare. So, I didn't have a choice. I mean, yeah, I coulda had a lumpectomy on one side and then had my left side, I had to have a mastectomy. But I opted out to do a lumpectomy on the left I mean, on the, right, and I did both. So, in doing that, I went in, Candace, knowing I did not want reconstruction. I didn't want reconstruction. I didn't want, I didn't want the, implants. So, I didn't want either one of those. So I was adamant about that. I was talking to the nurse practitioner and I was telling her, I said, nope. I said, I'll go flat. And obviously, I did have the conversation with my husband. My husband didn't care. My husband was like, I just want you to live.
Yeah. I
So,
love you, not your boobs.
exactly. Yeah. So, talking to the nurse, I found out about a procedure because I was so adamant about, I didn't want that. So she mentioned it's an in-between procedure and it's called Goldilocks. And
I don't know about this.
a lot of people don't know about Goldilocks because it's not talked about. You do have to be a candidate for it. So, which means you do have to have enough breast to be able to do it. So what it is after the mastectomy, the skin that's left over in the tissue, they mold it together like a breast. So it's a breast mount, but it's all your skin and your tissue. It's no implants or reconstruction where they take from your stomach and put in your breast. None of that. I didn't want any of that. So that was the procedure that I had. And I did my research on it and everything. Right before surgery because they prep you and tell you what you're going to go through and this and that. And I said, I'll just stay flat. I didn't care. I'll just stay flat. And then so she brought up this procedure. It was not until I was adamant about what I wanted and what I didn't want. So ladies, you have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to really stand on what you want, and that was an option, which is a go between implants and what am I trying to
Being
say?
flat and nothing.
Yeah.
Total
So that's the
flatness.
go. Well, what is it? It's implants or reconstruction. Reconstruction is where they take the tissue from another part of your body. It could be your thighs, it could be your stomach, and they fill that into your breast. So I have a girlfriend that did that, and she wanted me to do that, and it made her stomach flat, and she said, it would have been 2 surgeries. I'm like, "Girl, no, I am not going through 2 surgeries. Imma have my mastectomy, and if I have to be flat, I have to be flat." But the Goldilocks, look that up, Candace.
Okay.
It's called
And I'll put it,
Goldilocks. And I'm actually in a Facebook group, where we talk about the Goldilocks procedure.
we haven't seen each other in person in a couple of years, so I'm gonna have to make a special trip to Detroit to come
Yes.
see you because I want to check out your boobs, woman.
Yes. And I would be happy to let you see them. I did that too. As a matter of fact, one of the girls in one of our other groups, we get together and we have different things that's going on, whether it's just go to a coffee house or whatever. Um, and she had went through, but she had implants, and we actually showed each other.
Mhm,
It's like, see,
mhm.
and but I I think it's so important that we as women share as much as we can share because you never know who you're helping along the way. I wish for so many things that I knew coming up or you know
Yeah.
but, that's a whole nother story for another day.
I remember being at some fancy fundraising function where we were all dressed up to the nines, and I took a picture with 2 other women, and both women had had reconstruction, and I was in the middle, and both of their hard boobs, their hard,
Yeah.
implants were pushing against me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm really glad I didn't do that." I mean, they both look fantastic, but
Yeah.
they were hard as
Yeah.
rocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and, when Alicia Galati was on the show a couple of weeks ago, episode 289, we were talking about how important it is for these podcasts for us to have conversations that people need to hear on podcasts, and I think that you and
Mhm.
I have fulfilled that. We have had a conversation that people need to hear about breast cancer, mastectomies, reconstruction, what to do with your boobs after. I mean, and we've said the word boob about 12,000 times,
Yeah.
but people do need to hear these things,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you
And
know?
we're talking about transparency. So be transparent because when you're real and not putting on a show or, putting on this face, you're helping someone else. You never know who this podcast is going to be able to help. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you think this message needs to be heard by a friend or family member, please do share it with them because Deb has stuff to share and she was very transparent today and is excellent. All right, Deb Davis, this is your moment of gratitude. Thinking over your breast cancer journey over the last year and a half or so, tell me that moment in time that you are most grateful for.
I am most grateful for when that light bulb went off and reminded me that I am still a totally whole person. Because after my surgery, I could not look at myself in the mirror. I felt like something was missing. until that light bulb went off and I was able to fully look at who I am and not allow what I've been through to define who I am. That's what I'm most grateful for. To know that I'm still who I was. I'm still me. Actually, I'm better than who I was.
Thanks for tuning in to Gratitude Geek, the podcast for female solopreneurs over 40, building genuine, lasting connection with clients, colleagues, and community. Our theme music is by Rev Brock and Soul Lily. To connect with Deb Davis and check out all the links, we talked a lot about a lot of different things today. So all of those things that we chatted about will be in the show notes. Links that you need, yada yada yada. A link to her book, all that you need, her Substack, all of it will be in the show notes. This is episode 294. I've been your host, Candice Ridardi. Stay groovy, my friends.
Stay groovy, my friends.